you? It's Thursday, it's 7 o'clock in the evening in the UK, which can only mean one thing: it's time for the Relationship Room. Hi, my name is Ali Hendry. My pronouns are she, her. We are here every week in the Relationship Room, different topics, different guests, same place, same time. Hope you're having a lovely, lovely day. Today we are talking about queer grief. That is the topic of today. Welcome, welcome. I'm also going to be joined by the author of this amazing book. I have so many things to say about this book. It's called Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine. So I will invite my guest up to the main stage and we will get going. How are you doing? How is your day going today? I hope you are. Relationship Room for you, for your delectation. Oh, the hearts are already coming in and the waves. This is great. Hello.
Hi, Ali.
Nice to meet you in person, I guess we could say.
Yay, great to be here.
Really lovely. I feel like I know you. We're going to be talking about lots of questions to do with queer grief today, and also your amazing, amazing book. I have so much to say about this, Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine. So I feel like I know you because there's so much of you in here, and we will get to that in a minute. Obviously, you know that and I know that. So would you like to introduce yourself, share your pronouns, should you wish, and let us know what you do?
Yay. I'm Claire Beloved, pronouns she, her. I'm an artist, therapist, writer, all things creative and juicy.
You are. Yeah, you are. So what came first for you out of all of those beautiful, wonderful, nourishing? Oh, we've got there she is. We've got the comments starting already. I love it. I love it. Yes, there she is indeed for our delectation, people.
Oh.
So what came first for you?
Well, I've always been creative since I was a little girl, so I've always doodled and drawn. So I think I've always been an artist and went through a lot of things when I was young, trained to be a therapist, a group therapist. And yeah, I've always written stories as well. I've always loved stories, from fairy tales when I was little to, you know, right up to writing the books that I have as well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with the book. Yes. So tell us about this amazing book. And I also have a lot to say. So this is Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine by Claire Beloved and Sandra Richardson. Tell me more.
Well, my amazing wife, Sandra Richardson, who was an incredible lesbian warrior, activist, very active in our communities since she was 16, really. She died in 2021. She was also a poet and an artist, writer. And when she was alive and when she was dying and knew she was dying, she wrote a lot of things. So she'd be writing what she felt, how she felt about knowing she was going to be dying. She had breast cancer, love letters to me, bits of scraps of paper. And I was also writing on Facebook. Like, I've always tried to share whatever I'm going through in a really honest way. So my following on Facebook and Instagram kind of followed the journey with me from when she was diagnosed. So I also had a lot of writing that was all over Facebook and in Instagram and in notebooks. And when Sandra was dying, she was giving me a list of instructions. Some of them are in the book, quite funny. But one of them was, you know, I've got poems that are half finished, all these bits of paper, put them in a book and write our book. So obviously when someone's dying, you just say, yes, yes, I'll do it. I'll do everything you want. But actually, after she died, it was the only thing that I knew that I had to do. So it gave me a real focus. So I'd say, I don't know how I'm going to survive, what I'm going to do, but I know I've got to write this book. So I spent the 3 years after she died just collating everything, finding a line in a notebook that I kept finding things on a computer and just collating them. I thought it'd take about 6 months and it took 3 years. And I think you're right when you say you feel like you know me, and maybe you know Sandra from reading the book, because that's what everyone says. I
Yes.
feel like you're my friends now because I know your life. And I think there's something lovely about that. And I think that so many of our stories get lost, and especially now we do everything on our phones or we text each other. And, you know, looking into lesbian and queer archives, you know, we probably have more material on people from 100 years ago than we do from people 5 years because it's all on our phones. And I felt like everything was all over the place and I wanted to bring it into one place and to honour it and to honour our love story really. And so there was a record for others and like a pathway for other people going through similar, but mainly to celebrate our love that was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. It does feel like an honor, an honouring, and it also feels like an honour to be part of the story through reading it, experiencing it, seeing it as well, witnessing it. We've got some comments coming in saying beautiful book and such an amazing book. And I. This is the most intimate book I've ever read. We're talking about this book if you have just joined us. It feels so intimate, and I love how it's a magazine. It's all, I mean, obviously we're here for Diva magazine. It's got everything, like we said, like you said earlier. It's got lists in it, it's got poetry, it's got stories and anecdotes, it's got paintings and pictures and imagery, and what else I wrote, things, notes, photos, just so much. And you are taken along the journey. You are taken along
Yeah,
this journey.
thank you. I wanted to include Sandra's handwriting, so things she'd handwritten. There was a love note that I found years later, just before I published it. And it was the first time I'd ever read it. It was like a sealed note to me, and I wanted her handwriting and everything to be in it, and it to be a real experience, not just, and publishers said to me, "We're never going to publish that. There's too much. You want it beautiful." Like I wanted every page to be really beautiful, and it was my love letter to Sandra, really.
It is beautiful. I mean, I don't know. Am I allowed to do a little
Please
flick
do,
through?
please do, yeah, yeah.
It's just so, so, so beautiful. And I was trying to nobble down the things. I mean, there's too many. It's too much of a list. So first of all, it made me want to travel, which
Yes, yeah.
is brilliant in there. I loved how it was structured in terms of actually, we are seeing the journey of you two, and then we're seeing what happens when Sandra dies, and we're seeing your life afterwards. And I'm not going to reveal too much, but where the amount of time that is spent before and during and after, I felt was so well placed, because obviously, you could put it right in the middle, you could put it at the end, you could put it at the beginning, and I just felt it was so well placed for carrying us through the journey and visiting your relationship while it was active, and also while it was being honoured, and the reverence around it as well.
Oh,
Just amazing.
reverend
Um,
and irreverent, because we're both Scousers who like laughed our way and cried our way through the
yeah.
death and the grief. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Particular things that I like. I mean, too many to mention, but I'm going to mention three, um, and share as much or as little as you want. I know we're going to talk. In fact, this one relates to one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. Um, the play. It ended up being a play, and one of the things that, I mean, several things brought. I was thinking about it now. Brought a swell of emotion, and one of them was the taxi driver coming to the play. That story. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing, so Sam was love lists. I don't love lists. Sandra loved lists. We were like opposites. So she was reeling off all she wanted me to do when she died. And she was saying, we need a big play and a big hire a theatre. And I was thinking, I don't know whether I'm even going to be able to get out of bed. But yes, love, I will hire a theatre. So after she died, I hired the Epstein Theatre in Liverpool, which is a big theatre. And they said, have you ever put a play on before? And I said, no. Have you ever written a play before? No. How are you going to fill this theatre? And I just said, oh, I've got absolutely no doubt. so I booked it, and it was sold out. And it was such an amazing evening. I wish I'd have filmed it now. But yeah, I was on the way to a radio show before the play was on the week before. And a taxi driver, Scout taxi drivers are great, you know, they're like, "Hi, love, how are you? Where are you going?" So we started telling him the story and about how she'd been in a hospice and how it was amazing. He said, like, my dad died in that hospice 10 years ago. And he said, I go in my taxi and sit in the car park in my taxi and look at the room where he died. And it was 10 years ago. And I was so moved. I said, "What's your dad's name?" Because I always ask people, you know, I love to hear their loved ones' names. And he said, "John." And I said, "Okay, I'm thinking about you and John." So I went on the radio and they said, you know, "Why would people come to this play about death?" And I said, "Because, you know, it touches everyone. And people think we don't want to talk about our loved ones because it'll upset us, but we do." And I talked about John, you know, the taxi driver, and John, and how my Sandra and John and all the names and how it all weaves and connects us. Anyway, at the end of the play, I didn't want to see anyone. I was overwhelmed. And this woman grabbed my arm and she's like, "That was amazing." She said, "I'm the taxi driver's wife. We've both come to your play and you said John's name, our dad's name. And it meant the world to us on the radio. So we've come and we've both cried and done a lot of grieving." And Sandra she was a big manager in a big organisation. She was incredible, could hold her own with politicians and anyone. But she thought that the real wisdom and the magic came from very ordinary people, and that's who she loved. Yeah. So she'd have loved that taxi driver was at the play. And that's what I remembered and spoke about, that he came there. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful, such a beautiful story. I wanted to talk about how you have experienced grief. We're talking about queer grief today. If you've just joined us, hello and welcome. I am here with Claire Beloved, who is the co-author of this brilliant book called Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine. It's so beautiful and luscious. So in terms of how you experienced grief, what can you share?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself. Grief is so experienced absolutely uniquely by anyone. And I think what I would say is that however you're experiencing it is okay. There's no right way to do it. I mean, they found out that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who's the, you know, everyone go-to of the stages of grief, she actually wrote those for people who were dying and knew they were dying, not people who were experiencing grief. So, you know, this idea that we, you know, go through these stages and then we finish grieving is ridiculous. You know, it's a lifelong job. You know, horrendous. They say that losing a partner is, like, not that we're on a comparing things, but you know, it's one of the most stressful things because it's in your home, it's everything, you know. And people, sometimes when people are having a terrible situation or in grief, they say, "I just want to go home." But Sandra was home and she wasn't there anymore. And the house, our beautiful home here that we created, this magic little coach house, everything in it reminded me of Sandra. You know, the bed still smelt of her. We got married in the garden. Her mug was in the kitchen. Her clothes were in the wardrobe. So I couldn't be at home. I just couldn't be in the house. I slept on friends' sofas, beds. I went travelling. I couldn't be in the place that usually gives you rest and refuge. And then that person that usually regulates your whole nervous system, knows what to say, knows you, knows exactly how to touch your shoulder or cheer you up, or is gone. And they're the one person, anyway, that I wanted to say, "I'm going through this, help me." And they were gone. And, you know, people say, oh, I know it's easy to do cliches, and I do them myself sometimes, but people say, "Oh, she'll always be with you though, love," or "She's with you right now." And you think, well, she's not. You know, she could be on a level, but physically she's not here. And that is like a huge grief.
Yeah.
and also very hard to understand
Yes.
where she's gone. And I think the best thing that someone could say to me, and I think it's always best to say something even if you get it wrong. That's what I
Yes.
say. Don't
Yeah.
disappear. Say, I'm not going to get this right, but say something.
Yeah.
But someone just said, where the hell has she gone? And I was like, I know, where is she? It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Where is she? And that was more powerful than all the cliches and trying to make it all right. It's just like, where
Yeah.
the hell has she gone?
We're not we don't talk about grief enough. We don't talk about death enough. We are very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
love what you're saying. It is a reality. And so why would you be trying your best to body swerve that situation? There's so many poems, yours and Sandra's, and words that I absolutely adore. And one of the things that it's reminding me of is when you talk about the huge sunglasses and how and the words. So you have a brilliant poem called fuck off sunglasses, is it called? Oh,
probably
big
something
fuck off
like yeah.
sunglasses. Yeah, the big fuck off sunglasses. And also you talk about the a verbal version of the Black Widow's outfit. I love that. How we have to it's like coming out. You don't just come out once. We have to keep
Yeah.
sharing that information. We don't have to, but we end up sharing that information.
I think the
And
whale felt so vulnerable. I couldn't cross the road because
yeah,
nothing made sense. And I think your body can close your mind down and not function properly to protect you.
yeah,
I think I almost didn't. It really hit me like 2 years later, which was, and I think a lot of people talk about this. And by then, everyone's, after the funeral and people have hung around for a few weeks when really you can't cope with loads of people
yeah,
during that time. I know I went upstairs and like everyone was knocking on my window with food and everything, which was lovely, but I couldn't cope. But it was a year, 2 years later when that's when I was like, wow, my wife's died. How do I live again? And I think grief's got no timeline. I always say to people, even if it was 40, 50 years ago, you're still in early day grief. I say that to people, and it's okay. You're still feeling it as much. And I don't know whether this helps, Ali, but people say that it gets easier grief and that the feelings get less. But I always try to explain it like, say your partner goes away for a week. Well, the first week you're kind of, missing them. The second week you're thinking, I wish they'd come home, I'm really missing them now. If that went on for a year and you hadn't heard from them, you it really hits you and you're heartbroken.
yeah,
3 years in, that ache is horrendous.
yeah.
40 years. So yeah, it carries on and we change and we can live beautiful, deep, magical lives like I am. And I think the grief will always be there as well. Yeah.
And you put that across so beautifully in terms of the journey of grief. And if anybody is going through grief or isn't going through grief and is curious to I was going to say make friends with grief, but understand your experience of grief, then I definitely recommend Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine. And if you're here because we're in Diva magazine, you're likely to be of a queer ilk, and this is about a lesbian relationship, so it's absolutely beautiful. One of another moment I talked about the taxi driver. Another moment that for me I kind of went was quite near the end when you're talking about your hair and having your hair cut and knowing that your hair is now none of your hair, your hair has grown and been cut and grown and been cut, and none of your hair on your head now has been touched by Sandra. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah, it's often like really small things or they feel small to other people that can floor you years later. And sometimes I don't want to change things. I'm like, what would Sandra think of that?
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw away things. So Sandra was an Evertonian. So when she moved into my house, it was all pinks. And I'm like, cerise pinks, reds. So all the walls were like pink and red, and then slowly, without me noticing, the whole place turned blue. And one day I was like, hang on, my whole house has gone Everton blue. So our bedroom was blue. And a year and a half ago, I thought I really would love a lilac bedroom. And then I said to my friend, what if Sandra comes back and goes mad at me? She wouldn't go mad at me, but and the blue's gone and she loved the blue. And I could see my friend thinking, Sandra's not coming back to see the walls have changed. And another friend said, why don't you leave a heart above Sandra's side of the bed where she used to sleep in blue and do the rest lilac, and then that's still there for her. And it was so beautiful because they understood something like, if she comes back, there's still the blue heart. And I love that, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
Another, I think I spoke about this in the book, but another queer widow told me, because the clothes thing is big as well, I talk a lot about clothes, and they told me that they'd kept their husbands a pair of shoes, a pair of socks, a pair of
Yeah, you put it in
underpants,
the book.
a
Yeah, I'm a dork.
trousers and
I've
a
read it.
top,
I know it. I've reread it and read it. Yeah, you
in
did.
case
It's in
he
the book.
came home and then he'd have nothing to wear on earth. And I was
Yeah,
like, that makes complete sense to me. But for someone who hasn't experienced that, they might be like, what the hell? But it just, none of it makes sense,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
then you start thinking about your own death. And my friends say to me, oh, Claire, don't think about that. You're not dying. And you want to say, because, you know, a lot of them haven't experienced that grief like me. And I want to say, no, it can happen at any minute. And I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so there's a poem in there about, I went through all my wardrobe and thought, what are all, because all my mates are butch girls. And I was like, what are all the butch girls going to do with all these dresses? They're not going to know what to do. They're going to throw them all out and they're worth a fortune. So I wrote a poem called What Are the Butch Girls Going to Do with the Dresses?
Yes.
And I've actually appointed a mate to like sort the wardrobe and the dresses up,
Yes.
because you just start thinking about all these details
Yes.
that you have to cope with, you know.
It's brilliant. And actually, dresses is one of the themes. Another two areas, two stories, poems that I love is the one about the that I haven't wrote it down because Secret Butch Girl Dress, love that story, and also the stolen dress, love that story. So I mean, there are loads of themes, but I really saw the clothes and the dress theme, and I also saw the sea swimming theme as well, which was really lovely how that shows in your drawing and in your words. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
and swimming saved me, you know. It's talked about in grief a lot, I suppose, that people get in water. And
Yeah.
I think there's so many emotions, and then getting in a body of water that can hold that. And running
Yeah.
away to a little Greek island with just loads of fishermen.
Yes. And the fisherman photos, brilliant, brilliant.
So
Yeah.
much.
You've got photos in. So we're talking about, if you've just joined us, hello, welcome. You can catch the replay as well. We're talking about Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine, which has got photographs, it's got poems, it's got anecdotes, it's got drawings, it's got paintings, it's got everything in it, and it's so beautifully laid out. So in fact, that's one of yeah, spoons. Oh, so much I can talk
You know,
about.
Ali, it's so lovely because I wrote the book and what I thought it'll carry me through this. It'll take me to the next place, this book, because, you know, I'll travel with it or I'll go to lesbian festivals with it. And because because I've been out of that world for a bit looking after Sandra, nothing happened with it. And I was like, so it's so beautiful you talking about it. And I think people think, oh, it's a book about lesbian grief, I don't really want to read it. But it's actually a celebration of love, friendship. You know, what got me through was my lesbian mafia mates,
Yes.
and friendship, ex-partners loving me, holding me. Um, it's a book that's celebrating queer community and life and love, and why we need to love each other really fiercely.
Yes, yes, it really is. And like you said right at the beginning of our conversation, queer archives are so important. And this piece of work, this legacy is a living legacy. It really is. Um, One of the areas that you touch on is around, well, there's a few things. So first of all, what is the Bad Lesbian Widows Club?
So one of the things that saved me is a lesbian group on Facebook, which I found, like a lesbian love widows group, and that was amazing. And I met a few people through different formats on Facebook and stuff. It's amazing to have close friends support you, or sometimes also strangers. You feel like you're not burdening them, and especially if they've been through the same. So that was really important to me. But a few of us connected really deeply over, we really connected on those groups. And I totally understand why some of those groups you can't talk about dating or any of those things, because people are in early grief and we don't want it to turn into a dating site. So we totally get that. But a few of us were wanting to talk about those things. So I set up the Bad Lesbian Widows Club, where you didn't have to be good. You could be like bad at being a widow. We got little pin badges, the Bad Lesbian Widows Club, which are really cool. It's not an organised group. It's just anyone that wants to be can call themselves a bad lesbian widow. And we like getting t-shirts and stuff for it. And we're going to start a podcast, the Bad Lesbian Widows podcast. But there's nothing like another widow, another queer widower, to know. You don't need to explain anything.
No.
They totally know. And a lot of them have been through really similar stuff, where it's not just someone gets a cancer diagnosis, then you have this lovely time together, living each moment to the full, and then they die, and then they understand that often there's 3-4 years of horrendous trauma, watching somebody die, anticipatory grief, and also all the things that happen afterwards. I think I write in the book about I can't remember, about widow's fire.
Yes, I'd like to talk about that. I want to talk about dating after the death of your wife, how it was, and Widow's Fire poem, page 180. People, check it out. It's one of my favourites.
Now, have you ever heard of Widow's Fire, Ollie?
No.
Many therapists haven't. That's important. So when it first happened to me, I was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? Maybe like 5 months out of Sandra dying. And I suddenly had this like huge sexual energy that was like on fire. And I was like, all the time, I was just like, and I was like, this is really inappropriate. And I just wanted like intimacy with somebody. I just wanted someone close, like flesh and sex. And I started flirting with an old friend that I knew in San Francisco, which felt safe because they were far away. And I went upstairs to my friend Rachel and Kitty, and I said, this is what's happening. And they were like, what the hell? I said, I've looked it up, it's called Widow's Fire. And he was like, that's not a real thing. I said, go and Google it. And they were like, wow, is this what's happening now then? Because they'd like gone through so many stages of grief. And when I started talking to the other widows, they're like, oh my God, yeah, it's terrible. But like, people don't want to talk about it.
No.
But it makes sense really, because it's also something that happens after like disasters or 9/11 and things like that. You see death, you see your own life flashing before you, you experience someone dead, and you want to live completely fully and grasp everything. But also I think biologically, I suppose our bodies have adapted to, now I need to find a new partner. And so that will to live and to reproduce maybe years ago or whatever, biologically, it's like a real physical thing. And obviously, it's hard to talk about because you're supposed to be the good grieving widow. And, somebody said to me, oh, well, that must mean you didn't love Sandra that much. And I've heard that said, like about people's parents, oh, my dad's gone and found a new partner. My mum's gone and found someone. What does that say about it? And it doesn't say anything.
Nothing.
I know Sandra would be like, you go, girl. Do whatever you need to do. And I also think that like what we lose and we miss when a partner dies is intimacy.
Yes.
No one's touching us or holding us, and that's gone. And so that's what we're craving. And then that's what people think must mean.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. We put two incidents together, and we say that there is a cause and effect, which is just so ridiculous because they are two independent happenings, and our brains make these ridiculous stories. And you know, in the book you talk about how Sandra actually says to you, you have this huge heart, you have this warmth, you know, you need to find somebody, you are not a person who will be on your own.
And it
And it's not like
almost,
you need permission, but
yeah,
it's beautiful that that's in the book as well.
and it almost felt like me and Sandra were dating people.
Yeah,
Because I'd be like,
yeah.
Sandra, what do I do now? What do you think of this person? So she became a part of me, and we were out there in the world. And she left. She's very bossy. Not that I ever took any notice of the things she said, but she left like instructions for life, orders to me after she died. And one of them was, don't date anyone with no money because you need beautiful things and expensive hotels. And of course, I don't take that seriously. I just love who I love.
Yeah.
But it was just Sandra's humour of knowing that I love a gorgeous hotel and lovely things, and that she wanted me to have those things.
Yeah.
And also that she'd haunt anyone who was mean to me.
Yeah, yeah. But there is a story about you having lovely things, and I don't know if you're wearing one of them now. There is a story about how you have received from her.
Yeah, a friend, well, I had never met her, but someone in America who knew my work. I said, you know, Sandra's been talking to me from beyond, which I don't really go with all that, but because I think, well, why isn't she fucking talking to me? Why is she talking to you? And she told me to give you this gift, and so I'm going to send it to you. And I was like, what's she been up to? That's Sandra Richardson. And it was a cashmere shawl that I had been looking at online, but there was no way this person could know. And then she said she's also asked me to get you this silk one. And I was like, all right, now I'm drawing a line. You can't be getting people to be sending me silk shawls in the post. But
Yeah.
yes, beautiful, funny
Amazing.
happenings. So yeah, things like Widow's Fire and everything, just great to talk about them, because how come nobody knows these
Yeah.
amazing things?
No, absolutely, absolutely. So let me just check where we're at with the notes, because there's so much I want to say about your amazing book.
I think
Where
what
can
I
people
wanted,
get hold of it? We're
I
talking about
think I
less
wanted
people.
to just come back to saying about the dating that
Yeah.
I'd been really loved so beautifully for 10 years. Someone who knew me, loved me, knew me inside out, knew how. And then suddenly, I didn't realise this, but I was like a 16-year-old out there trying to date. And my heart was still so tender. And I think it's really easy to get hurt or be with people that may not honour that tender place that you're in. But I think you still got to go out there and be in the soup and laugh with your friends and get the support. And you know, it's taken years for me to kind of grow back up to being savvy out there, and you know, knowing what I want and what Sandra would want for me as well.
And I love how you said, you know, we're doing this together. We're kind of like it's the two of us partnering on this ridiculous dating thing that we're doing, and feeling like a teenager. That's just such a beautiful way of
Yes.
seeing it. Yeah.
Mm.
So if you have just joined us, hello, we are talking about Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine. Where can people get hold of this?
So it's on Amazon. Yeah, so they can order it on Amazon, and it'd be really beautiful for it to, thanks Ali for celebrating it, really beautiful for it to have a life now. And maybe after I'd written it, because it's a year ago, I needed just a break from it. But now I'm doing a lot of work around sensuality and grief, and how experiencing grief can make you just appreciate the world and your senses and your sexuality more than ever, which is also something that's not talked about a lot. And so I'm hoping that me in the book and Sandra's words and all the stories and adventures can find their way to shimmy into the world somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that. So please do check out Claire Jasmine Beloved. You can follow at Claire Jasmine Beloved, and tell us about some of your offerings, and also, just to do a shout out for the things that you're sharing on your profile that help us to help us to not feel proud of the way that we're approaching things, and kind of normalize the fact that it's very complex. Grief is incredibly complex, and there are going to be some things that it sits alongside that you kind of think, I wouldn't have put those two concepts together. This is what's happening. And try not to be judgy but
Yeah,
judge. So
thanks,
what
Ali.
are
So
you offering? Yeah.
starting tomorrow morning, actually, I've got a sensuality 31-day program starting, and yeah, just contact me if you'd like to jump on tomorrow. It all just comes into your WhatsApp, so every morning you get just a beautiful love note and a little prompt to think about. There's a lot of people on that course who from all around the world who are experiencing grief, and I think sensuality and being connected to nature and ourselves and our bodies is a beautiful remedy for grief. So if anyone, and we've got a pay what you can option and everything. So if anyone wants to jump on that tomorrow, they can. And then I run beautiful retreats. I've done that for 30 years, and we've got a lovely one in Cornwall, a little postcard from Cornwall, in November, and it's called Sea, Salt and Sensuality.
Wow.
And again, there's some of the bad lesbian widows on that, and we're going to meet by the beach and do lots of creative healing. So, yeah.
And you will really get a sense of how nature and nourishing and sensuality comes across if you are follow Claire at Claire Jasmine Beloved, and you will find your wonderfulness comes across so beautifully in your profile, as well as, of course, in your book.
Alan, thank you.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think I just want people to know that, we think we won't survive, and someone rang me the other day, knowing that I do this work, and just said, it's unsurvivable, this. And I said, it is, but somehow we do survive. And in between the pain that might be with us forever is some new adventures, some people we've never met before who will love us. And, this beautiful world that we live in. And in some ways, I feel like I want to experience that to the max for Sandra as well.
yeah,
For her and me.
yeah, 100%. Oh gosh, so many things I want to talk about. Let me just so that you know, I love the kitchen disco. I talk about kitchen disco. I did a TED talk a few years ago called Survivor's Guide to Jealousy, and I mentioned kitchen disco to help me work through jealousy. And you've got a story and an anecdote around that, which is beautiful. Love that. Love your Maria, your therapist gets a mention. Which is lovely, and her wisdom. I love the poem Fortified. Absolutely love that. Fortified. Love that poem. Spoons of Time. Oh, Spoons of Time is just a beautiful story or anecdote. So many things I could go on.
I'm
So
hoping,
I hope
Ali,
people,
that what it gives to people is they feel like these people are in their life. So they're like, I know that the lesbian mafia, so my ex Kitty lives next door, in the house next door. I could almost wave up to it, so lesbian. And her partner Rachel. And when they're out sometimes, and they're very both shy and neurodivergent and don't like being public, and they're like, people are calling us the lesbian mafia, like they know us. And I love that, and I hope that you get the sense that you feel like Maria,
yes,
the lesbian mafia, Sandra, and you've got a whole new collection of characters in your life.
yeah, 100%, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can go to Amazon. Is it in bookshops as well, or is it all?
Not yet,
Not
but
yet.
I'm hoping
Okay.
that it can get picked up and I
Okay.
can read it
Yeah.
at festivals and do workshops and lovely things.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So we do 3 quick fire questions, or 3 questions at the end of every session. It's not a coaching session. At the end of every relationship room. Are you up for that?
Of course.
Great, thank you. So the first one is playing question tag with next week's guest without knowing who next week's guest is. So what that involves is you'll ask me a question that I'll then ask the guest. And it can be any question at all. It can be based on what we've discussed. It could be something that has just popped into your head. Absolutely anything at all.
Okay, so I would link it with the sensuality prompts that I'm doing, and I would say, what's been your most sensual moment in your life?
Ooh, great
Ooh la
question.
la!
Ooh la la. What's been your most sensual moment in your life?
Great question.
Yum. Yeah, love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, so what that means is you've got a question from last week's guest, because that's how it works.
Okay.
So last week I had the brilliant The Queer Mama. Freya came in to talk about being a queer mum and also being donor conceived. So having children who are donor conceived and being donor conceived. And her question for you, without knowing it is you, is this. What is your guilty pleasure stereotype? So what she means by that is it's a stereotype that fits you and you're like, yes, stereotype, but I really like that I'm that stereotype.
I think, I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure, but I think I'm probably a walking stereotype that all my exes are my family and my best friends. I love that. Here's to all those amazing exes. And that I've got 2 cats that I love that are grumpy. Yeah, I'm just a walking lesbian stereotype.
Love that, love that. And then the third question that I ask everybody is, what is love?
Oh, wow.
I know.
It's what we're here for. And I think, it's what it's all about. And when Sandra was dying, she just became so alive and knowing, she just knew. And she said, like, all my life, I've never realised how loved I am. It's only when I'm dying I realise that that people love me and that that's all that life is about. You know, the people that we love, loving them, and also, really importantly, letting that love in and feeling the love from others.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I can hear the birds. Is that?
Yeah, this is in our little magic garden.
Yeah,
Of lots
it's
of
like the birds are agreeing and they're just providing a little backdrop there. That's just, do you know what? Today I was I'm a runner. I went for a run, and as I was going out on my run, a funeral cars went past, and they were going past a road that I've never seen a car go down before. So it was, and it was Dad, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's it. Yeah, yeah, I understand why you're here and what you're doing.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments that gave me tingles, because obviously I knew that you and I were going to be connecting later, and they were just people are smiling at us, whether they are here and we can see and feel and touch and hear them or not. Yeah.
And you know, we get to be the carriers of their stories now. And I talk about Sandra all the time. I go, Sandra, that's Sandra Richardson saying that, or Sandra would say this. And, you know, I'll always do that and I'll always keep her name alive.
Yeah, yeah. It has been so lovely to chat with you and to just go
Oh,
through all the things. I'm your
you too,
biggest
Anna.
fan. As I said at the beginning, we're talking about this is the most intimate book, journal, story, scrapbook collection that I've ever read or experienced. Let's call it experience rather than read. So I do highly recommend you catch Somewhere Between Derelict and Divine.
Oh, Ali,
Thank you so
thank you so
much.
much. Big love. Big love,
Absolute
girl love.
pleasure. We've had some lovely comments. Thank you so much for your comments in the chats. You've been absolutely dreamy as well. Thank you for being here, everybody, in the relationship room. We are here every week. If you've just joined us, this will get saved on the on Diva Magazine and also on our profiles as well, so you can catch the whole conversation, which is such a beautiful conversation, talking about queer grief and so many other things as well. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Claire, for being here.
Oh, thanks, Ali. Big love.
Thank you. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care. Bye, everybody.